Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to do my VCT America's Week 5 power rankings and predictions. Going to be going through all 11 teams, ranking them into these 5 tiers, and then picking who I think is going to win out of every game this week. I do this every week. This is the last week of the split, so I'll be doing this again for split 2, along with player rankings on my Twitter. So go check that out if you're interested in that. I'll probably do another one after playoffs for every region outside of China. So stay tuned for that. And yeah, go check out my Twitch. Link to both of those things is in the description. And let's get right into it. All right, and starting here with the bad tier, it's the two teams that in the beginning of the year we expected to be bad. And it's the two teams for the past 3 weeks that have been genuinely awful. It's Furia and MIBR. I think both these teams are in a very similar spot. I think Furia has a little bit more individual talent, and they don't have the coordination in the set like plays or anything like that. And MIBR, I think, is a little bit more the other way, where they have some set stuff, but a lot of the execution is really being messed up by these individual players. Personally, I don't know who would win between these two teams. It's like, I don't want to watch that game. I probably won't when it comes to Split 2 unless they make major roster changes and get a lot better. But yeah, just two teams that are in a really bad spot and might just end up coasting the rest of the year. Then in our next tier, titled Big Issues, we got NRG. Dropping down 6 spots here, which seems like a lot, but I kept them up there the past couple weeks because after I think it was they destroyed Furia, whoever their second game was, I moved them back. I moved them all the way up to number 1. Now, that was a little short-sighted. That was before the Lev game. Once they played the Lev game, and then had played MIBR and looked passable in that game, I dropped them down a little bit, but not all the way. And I was waiting to see it again, and they did it again this week against EG. So I have them dropping down to number 9 here. I think the issues with this team are well documented. I don't want to call out specific names, but Demon 1 and Victor need to switch roles, pretty much, is what it comes down to. Like, I think Sideshow literally said it perfectly on the broadcast. It was like, Demon 1 had been struggling the whole game or something like that, and then he got like a 3K with a Guardian and Market, and he's like, he's so good when people are swinging into him, when he's able to just hold an angle and wait for people to peek and re-clear on him. And it's like, that's exactly what you should do for, like, to put a player on Sentinel. And Victor can play both Raze, Jet, and Neon if you need it, to a very high level. So Victor should be playing the Duelist on most maps. Like, you can play Demon 1 on Jet if you want to. Personally, honestly, with how they use him, just put him on Sentinel, dude. Like, it doesn't matter. He's played Killjoy in the past on EG and wasn't, like, horrifically bad at it. It wasn't good, but it wasn't, like, terrible or anything. I think that is the biggest issue with this team. Now, obviously, the calling is also a massive issue, so yeah, a lot of the issues stem from both of those things. I think if they make a role swap with Victor and Demon 1, if they realize that, then they can be good for Split 2. But I think they need time with that as well. And Ethan needs time IGLing. I still think it's in there for him to be a good IGL, but right now it is so bad, especially with everything around him. Like, bro, they need to bring FNS in just to give him some lessons, dude. Like, I don't know. It's all bad with this team right now. With such high expectations, it's unbelievable how bad this team is. Then we have C9, which are two teams that I did not expect to be in the same tier this year. Honestly, if you had told me they were, then I'd expect C9 was really good, not Energy was really bad. But I understand they put on a decent showing this week, like against Furia. They're always terrible in map 1. I don't know what it is with this team. But I'm willing to pass that off. But when this team is so reliant on whether Oxy plays well, or I don't know, it might be just if Oxy's reliant on the team to play well, because like the team looks so bad when he is not performing, and I just don't trust them in any sort of big game until they prove that they can still win when Oxy is not playing well. Obviously, when Oxy is playing well, they look like probably a top half team in Americas, but I think it bumps them down a little bit to not have that, which is why I dropped them last week. But I do think very similarly about them this week because that's all they've shown, really, is to be good, is that they're good when Oxy is good and really bad when Oxy is bad. Even though, like, in that 100 Thieves game, I still honestly think Vanity's Calling was pretty good. I said this last week. But, like, they beat Lev when they were looking like shit in week 1. And then they figured stuff out after that, Lev did. Then they beat EG where they could not figure anything out on Lotus, but the other 2 maps, Oxy just diffed them. Then Loud, who were still playing like dog shit. And then they actually play a team playing well in 100 Thieves and lose. And then they beat Furia, who is my bottom rated team. So, again, I'm not moving this team into the top half of Americas, honestly, until they beat one of those teams when that team is playing well. I understand people think they cause the other team to not play well, but they don't cause Sadak to fucking box Les in while Les is in his own Viper roll and get him killed by a Viper molly. Like, they don't make Sadak fucking grab at his teammates. They don't make Lev not know how to fucking call. Like, they don't make EG not shoot back. Like, it's just they're in a weird spot because a lot of people think, oh, they beat Lev, they beat Loud, they beat EG, who look decent now. Like, it just doesn't matter, really. And then into our should be great tier, where I do have Sentinels. I had them still at number 2 last week because I don't think any team had really proved to be in that top tier. Like, I don't think 100 Thieves did. I don't think Cru did. Now, Cru this week did. I'll spoil that because it's obvious. I just wanted them to be a legit team, which 100 Thieves is. So they did that. And Sentinels is definitely in a weird spot because you still see the individuals playing well. Like, I still think Tens is playing decently. I still think Zekin, despite his stats being pretty bad and not looking amazing, is still playing well. And then John as an individual as well is still playing pretty decently. The other 2, not as much. I think Sassy's about the same level he's been, where he's not super, like, he's not fragging a lot, but, like, he'll win some clutches for you sometimes. And I just think Sen's style is getting readable. It's like, it's a very similar style on every map. And when you have so much footage out on you on every single map in the game, I think they've played every map so far this year. Like, it's hard to really reinvent yourself mid-season. So I think it's probably better for them to miss playoffs and miss Shanghai for the long term, like for their champs aspirations. But man, is it depressing to watch because, like, you see it in there still. You see them doing the same things. Like, obviously some of the micro play from the individuals isn't as good. But the macro is still there. Like, it still looks the same. It's just not working anymore because it is getting readable. And then we have G2 in a very similar spot as last week. I mean, I think IC looks fine. Again, wasn't impressed with him. Wasn't not impressed. Like, that was this week, right? Yeah, they beat MIBR. Did they beat the MIBR speedrun record? I don't remember. So they were close to it. They absolutely destroyed that team. It was terrible Valorant to watch at some points. Icebox was a little close, I guess. I'm just looking at the scores now. But none of the games ever felt remotely close. It just felt like G2 was in control most of the time, and you expect that this team is going to be generally solid. As long as Icy's playing to a solid level, then they should be fine. But yeah, not really a team that I expect to do anything this year, but maybe into next year when they start getting more comfortable. Maybe when it comes to the offseason, a really big, like, amazing duelist player becomes available. I don't really know who. Maybe it's somebody from tier 2, maybe it's somebody from tier 1. But if that happens, then I think this team does have a chance to really win something next year. Maybe Icy becomes that amazing duelist player. for right now, I don't think they're going to go super far in terms of playoffs or international success yet. It should be noted with the last tier, I don't think the should be great title really applies to G2, but honestly, I forgot to change it in the Google slide that I'm using. So I'm not going to go back and re-record that just to change that. So yeah, it kind of applies, kind of doesn't. It's like, it's good enough. So I'm not going to bother with that. And then now onto the We Are So Back tier. I originally had Sen and NRG in the same tier down in this big issues, but I don't think Sen is necessarily bad enough to be in this tier. So it was initially We Are So Back and It Is So Over, and it was going to be funny, but I think this one is good enough. So at number 5, we have EG. I mean, they look good. That talk that Potter talked about, and I think it was an interview with Dryad, where she's like, I don't remember what she said, man. I should remember that before I quote her. I'm not going to quote it, but she had to talk with all the players and essentially about like their confidence going into every game. And my lord, is it working? Like Apoth looks like a similar player, except he's hitting a lot more shots now and not getting punished an insane amount. Like, I don't know, he plays so weird. I feel like if they go up against like a I don't know, maybe like a Sen, I would say an NRG, honestly. Like, I think NRG dealt with it pretty, like his like weird lurking style on Ascent pretty well. Not on Ascent, on Lotus. That's what it was. But like, if they went up against a Crew, a Loud even, or what's the other team in here? Lev, maybe. I don't know about Lev. I don't know if they would necessarily punish that super hard, but like these super anti-strat heavy teams, I think would be able to punish Apoth very hard with these weird lurks, but overall he looks pretty good. I mean, Derek has looked good all season, apart from a few bad games here and there. Supa has, again, like, he's looked pretty good most of the time. Obviously, there's some maps where he just doesn't have hands, and that's fine. You expect that with him, honestly. I expected that coming into the year. Jog looks so back, dude. Oh my god, is he good? I was very skeptical of him the past couple weeks, and against Sen, he literally felt like a bulldozer in like the first half of Lotus, and then this week he was just farming energy. Nature looks like a really good individual, and the calling is getting better every week. Man, it feels like they're gonna do it again, and I hate that because fuck EG, the org. But I love this team. I love the players on it. I love Potter. I love Derek, specifically. I love Jaw. Like, I want to see the players succeed, but the org is so bad that I just can't root for them personally. I root for every team that they play against pretty much. So kind of sucks, but fuck the org. Like, it's not. It's bigger than the team actually succeeding. And then we have Loud. I mean, they are so back. QCK looked really good. When he looks good, this team looks like one of the best teams in the world. I don't think he looks good enough of the weeks or enough of the games, I guess. I don't know how to say that. Like, he doesn't look good often enough for this team to be ranked in this international contenders tier. But I like, if he's playing well for a whole run at international events, this team can win anything. Like, they can beat anybody. Now, would it be better for them to miss playoffs and have to make a roster change, or miss Shanghai and have to make a roster change? Personally, I think so. There's plenty of Brazilian duelists on the market right now that are very good, like DGZin from Furia last year. Askia, I think, is very good from the little I've seen of him at Ascension. He's playing Flex now, though, which kind of sucks. I mean, his stats seem pretty good on it. I haven't watched him play the Flex yet, though. So they can pick up one of those guys personally. I like offering solutions for dropping players rather than just saying, oh, they should drop this guy or whatever. Um, but if they can get like a really good duelist player, which honestly seems like a trend with this list, with like Furia, really, MIBR, with NRG, really, because Demon, the way they're using Demon 1 isn't good, but like if they put Victor on that role, then they'd have a really good duelist. G2, and now Loud. Like, it's kind of crazy how many teams are in that boat right now, at least in Americas. Off the top of my head, I don't remember. And like other regions, like I think Pacific is generally like almost every duelist in that region is good, so that's good for them. And yeah, I'm getting off topic, but um, I'm glad Loud is kind of back at least. They definitely looked more together and did a lot less trolling this week, which I think was a big thing for them. Like they were doing a lot of trolling in their microplay, which led to them losing some of these games. But now that they've kind of seemingly fixed that part, and QCK potentially, hopefully heating up, I think you could say Loud are kind of back, at least to what they were in kickoff and at Madrid, because I think they looked worse in Americas than that. So hopefully they look better, or at least at that kickoff form, or else this take will look bad. I think some people would call this a little bit of an overreaction because I dropped them last week pretty far, and then I'm pushing them up a lot this week. But also, it didn't feel right to have them under EG this week, so that's why I did that. And moving on to the next tier. All right, at number 3 here, we have 100 Thieves. And I know some people probably will think this is a little high, but I just think Cru was on such a heater in that game that I don't think they ever really had a real chance. I mean, Cru is on a heater every game, to be fair, but I think the individual play still looked pretty good. I thought Bang looked solid, Asano looked solid, which are their two most inconsistent players. So you like to see them finding a little bit more consistency. Obviously, they're not going to play as insane as they did against C9 every week. Just being realistic, honestly. And yeah, I think they're still a favorite to make it to Shanghai based on what we've seen throughout this whole split, with some of these teams being more inconsistent, with Loud, with QCK being a little with EG being EG, like the org and the roster playing so bad at the beginning of the split. Uh, Sen, NRG not looking as great. I mean, Sen probably won't make playoffs. NRG are not going to fix their issues in fucking a week and a half at the most. I don't actually know how close playoffs is after the end of next week. I don't think C9's quite there yet. I mean, I think there's probably people that think pretty similarly about C9 and 100 Thieves, and I have them at this big of a gap. But I don't know. I really believe in this 100 Thieves team. I think it's the best team they've had. It depends on whether you think their Berlin run team was better than their LCQ run team, which I think it was, not by a lot, but it was. So it's the best team they've had since then, if not better than that. And I just believe in this team against more opponents than Cru. I think Cru is kind of a bad matchup in terms of just them being absurdly good individually. Now, I know 100 Thieves can kind of match that, but when Cru's kind of pulling out miracle rounds, and 100 Thieves still has some gaps in their stuff, Cru can really exploit that. I think they can exploit any team, honestly, which I don't know. I want to have a closing thought about 100 Thieves, but I really don't. Like, I just think they're a top 3 team. They're the favorite to have that third spot right now. It's very close, but I think they're the favorite to make Shanghai right now, behind these other two teams. And yeah, I just believe. As simple as that. Then we have Lev moving down a spot. If I remember correctly, I don't think they played this week. They did not. Um, and yeah, I mean, they're just moving down one spot because Cru is moving up to the top spot. I mean, it's pretty simple. Cru look unbelievable fundamentally and individually. I don't think they're bringing. I mean, I've said this literally every week. I don't think they're bringing anything special to the table in terms of macro and in terms of like innovating stuff. But I don't think they need to. With their individuals are playing as well as they are. So I think Cru is pretty well documented. Like I don't think anybody needs a ton of analysis here. I think Klaus is definitely better than the caller that I thought he'd be. Um, and overall, this team just looks amazing. Top team in America is not something you expected after they went 0-9 last year. All right, so we're gonna do our predictions now, then move on to my betit.gg picks for this week, where it's a. I'll explain what it is then. Actually, I don't want to take too much time here because I already spent a shit ton of time on the power rankings. I think. When do Sentinels over Furia. I mean, no explanation needed. I still think Sentinels is readable, but they're not losing to Furia, surely. Then we have 100 Thieves NRG, where we talked about it. NRG have massive issues right now, and I really do believe in 100 Thieves. I think they should win this game, honestly. 100 Thieves should. Um, and that's pretty expected. Cru Lev, this is the game of the week, and it's not remotely close. Like, G2 Loud should be fun, but I mean, these are the top two teams in America's, the LATAM rivalry, whatever you want to say about this. It's an amazing game. Kesnit versus Ospas, unbelievable. And I'm just going to take Cru. I know that I I myself acknowledge that this could be some recency bias considering we didn't see Lev last week. But I think overall, in terms of how they've played throughout, we'll even ignore week one. Since week two, I think Cru are the better team. And honestly, across the board, have the better individual talent. I don't think that's crazy to say. Like, yeah, I'd take Aspas over Kesnit, but I think I'd take Shy over Tex or Com, whoever's playing the Sentinel for Lev. I'd take Klaus the Caller over King the Caller. I think King's the only individual that I'd take over anybody else on Cru, honestly. So, I mean, both teams are in incredible form right now. Should be a great game. Should be a 50-50, but I'm going to slightly lean Cru because I like their overall fundamentals and just their individual talent a little bit better. And C9 MIBR, surely C9 can't lose this. It's just not possible. I don't think it affects playoff stuff too much if they lose. I think they can get eliminated if they lose, NRG win, and G2 win, or something like that. I don't exactly know, but all of my predictions for those games have to go wrong because I'm picking Loud against G2. Another game that I think is pretty close in terms of like QCK could have a bad game and G2 could just win, and I think that's very possible. But it's two teams that are very reliant on their duelist showing up at all, and I do trust Icy a little bit more to show up. Like I think there's more of a chance of a QCK stinker than an Icy stinker, but also I believe in the rest of Loud so much more than G2, and that's not even a slight to G2. It's just Loud has Cowanzine, Les, Tui's, and Sadak. G2 obviously has Valen, Trent, Jonah, and Leaf. My God, I don't know how I almost forgot that. Jesus. But I mean, it's one of the most tested cores of all time. I'm gonna take them in the big like elimination playoff game, pretty much. So yeah, these are my pick'ems for this week. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Moving on to my bet it picks. All right, so I don't like any of these lines for what I predicted in my pick'ems. I'm not putting anything on Furia. That's just a waste of money. I think putting something on Energy could be good. I think putting something on Lev is a pretty good idea as well. But I think the first thing that I'm going to do is actually throw 200 on MIBR. I think that's very possible for them to win. I think if Oxy doesn't show up on the day, if they find a way to shut him down, I think MIBR absolutely could win this game. And yeah, I'm going to pick them there. Now, we have Loud G2, where I don't feel super comfy betting on either team either. in that, so I'm not exactly sure. I think what I'll do, what I'll say here, I'm not going to actually put in a bet on any of these games yet, but if the line gets closer to 50-50, like even if it's like 60-40 in favor of 100 Thieves, I'll put it on 100 Thieves. If it's anything less, I'll put it on NRG. I'll tweet out my picks as well, so you actually know what I'm picking. But, if this is 50-50, I'm picking Cru. If it's like 60-40 even, I'm picking Lev in this. And then same deal with the loud game. Um, I'm just going to take the team that's less favored in terms of putting my points on it, just because you'll get more back, obviously. But I didn't actually explain what bet it is, by the way. I like explaining it every video just so people don't think I'm betting actual money. It is a free gambling website where you get like I think 1,000 of these points to start, and then you can bet them on whatever games you have. I don't know if they have playoff stuff yet, but if they do, you can bet it on those games as well, obviously. Um, but I think it's fun personally. I love gambling, but I don't actually have to use money on it, so it's awesome. All right, but yeah. With that, I'll say I'm usually gonna stick to my pick'ems with these. If it's like 50-50, I'll pick the team that I picked in my pick'ems. If it's very favored towards one of the teams, then I'll probably end up picking the other team. I might put even like a good amount on Sen because they're just going to win this game. It's just going to happen. So, yeah. Let me know what you guys think of the video in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.